Mr. Greer, thank you for the time. So first off, I listened to the whole Oval Office event. Explain in layman's terms for people how this goes beyond just cars, steel, and aluminum.
Certainly. The main thing for the United States is we're going to be able to export more of our goods to the United Kingdom. This is a big deal for our farmers and our ranchers and our manufacturers. For a long time, we've had very limited access to the United Kingdom for beef and ethanol and a variety of other meats and chemicals. This deal opens that up. It unlocks the UK market for our team. We already have a big trade surplus with the US, but now we're going to have even more opportunities to ship over grade A American beef and a lot of other products.
The president mentioned that the formal text still needs to be written and worked out over the coming weeks. Is there anything that still needs to be fleshed out as that process goes underway?
Well, so we have what's called a heads of terms. It's several pages long. It's pretty detailed. It talks about with some specifics, the beef, the ethanol, the autos, those kinds of things. But over the coming weeks, we have to have all of our trade lawyers look at the agreement, flesh out some of the provisions, how they're implemented, nail down final, what we call tariff lines, which are specific products that might be subject to tariff reduction. Those are the kinds of things that are happening over the next few weeks. The deal is done. We just have to nail down the rest of it.
Spectrum News has stations across the country. Our colleagues have been speaking to farmers, small business owners, and it's been interesting some of the comments that have been sent to us to talk to folks like you about a coffee shop owner in Florida who's trying to figure out where to source his coffee beans from, a boutique owner in Columbus, Ohio who's trying to figure out how this will impact her supply chain. I know this is the first deal, and it's a good moment for that, but what's your message to folks across the country who are saying, sure, this might be the first one, but that doesn't necessarily change the complications I'm dealing with right now?
Sure. Well, the country and business owners, they all need to look at the deal that we made today with the UK because it's a good standard, and I think it sets a standard for future deals. Right now, I'm talking with all kinds of countries. When you talk about coffee and cocoa beans and those kinds of things, we have African countries, we have Costa Rica, Ecuador. We have a lot of these countries that might seem like smaller countries, but they're important for the things that they export, for the markets they represent, and we want to make sure that America shows economic leadership in these areas too. So we're going to keep working through this. As you may know, we're going to Switzerland this week. I'm going to be meeting with my Chinese counterpart. So this is a very active time in trade policy. None of it's done overnight, but trust me, we're moving as quickly as we can.
Regarding the China meeting, do you feel like you're going into it starting from square one, or have there been informal talks where you guys are building off of a foundation that was laid?
Well, I'd say there's a foundation. I've been dealing with Chinese trade officials for many years. I know several of these folks. I've dealt with them in the past. I've negotiated with them. Even before April 2nd, which is the day we announced our tariff program, I had a very long and candid conversation with my counterpart, Hu Feng, that I'm meeting with. So I would certainly say that there is a foundation. They've been sending a lot of signals in their traditional way through press and state-run outlets. We've been straightforward about our intent, and I think we're ready to actually talk and not just do pleasantries.
A question from our station in Los Angeles. We have a big presence there. The chief executive of the Port of LA is saying right now they're already down 35% in volume compared to this time last year. Are you concerned that the tariffs, broadly speaking, could slow trade to the point where ports are laying off people and the supply chain is impacted?
We obviously don't want that to happen. Something that really concerns me is, if we let the global trade system keep going as it's been going, where we've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs and 70,000 factories over the last 20 years, if we let that keep going, that is a terrible result, and those ports almost certainly won't have anything to send back out when those ships come in. So of course we want to keep the ports running. We want to make sure that the type of trade we have is fair, it's balanced, and reciprocal. That's what it needs to be. It's not just trade for trade's sake. It's trade that's better for American workers and consumers.
And then lastly for you, a question from our station in Kentucky, big statewide presence there. Obviously, they have a lot of bourbon there. Representatives of the alcohol industry in the U.S., Canada, Mexico, EU, they're pushing for a return to zero tariffs, saying that they've been unfairly caught up in all of this. Would things like bourbon be spared in talks as they go forward? What's your message to them?
Well, I would say, it kind of depends on the level of ambition of a particular country. So, like the United Kingdom has not imposed tariffs on our goods in that way. In fact, almost all countries have agreed not to retaliate against us while we work through all of this. China's one exception. Today we heard about the EU wanting to retaliate. They're trying to do more like China than the UK. So for right now, I wouldn't even call it a trade war, right? We are trying to reset global trade in a way that benefits America in response to our giant trade deficit, and almost all countries in the world are coming along with us on that path.
Anything else you want to add?
Now, listen, this is a great day. It's a historic day. I don't think it's a mistake that this is Victory in Europe Day and we're on the 80th anniversary. I'd like to say we planned it, but I think it's more serendipitous, and I think we'll look back on this day and see it as historic for our relationship and for global trade.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.